Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Mr. Warren. I'm going to be going over parts of a comic book really briefly so that tomorrow, when you guys come in, you can just get started on your final projects, which, as we've already discussed, you're going to be working in partners and making a comic book of your own, as we've already gone over visual literacy and we've read comics in groups, and now you're going to be creating your own. Okay, there are two major components of comics on every single page. You'll notice in each page there's going to be boxes, and that's what's known as panels. Now, again, I don't need you guys to memorize the exact terms for each one of these things, but I do need you to know what they are so that as we discuss them throughout the next few weeks while you're working on your project, you'll be able to know what everyone is talking about. So these little boxes on each page are what are known as panels. The space in between each of these panels is what's known as a gutter. It sort of gives your brain a little break and helps transition between each picture. You can tell that this picture is separate from this picture. So you've got panels and you've got gutters. Okay, then you've got speech balloons. There's sort of these smooth circles here. That's any character that says anything is going to be inside a speech balloon. Then you've got these clouds here that look like clouds. These are what's known as thought bubbles or thought balloons. This is what a character is thinking inside their head but not saying out loud. Notice that the speech bubbles have a little pointer, and this little tail points down. You don't have to put it over the character's face, but you just point it at the character who's saying the thing. Same thing with the thought bubbles. Instead of a pointer, though, you have these little bubbles, these little circles that head towards the character that's thinking that thing. So you got speech bubbles and pointers, you got thought bubbles, and the little bubbles that go towards the character's head. Okay, you're going to have a title page. You and your partner are going to come up with a title for your comic and a large illustration that gives the reader an idea of what they're going to be expecting to be inside. You're going to have little credits. So little boxes here where whichever one of you wrote the story and did all the writing, you can put your name, and then whichever one of you did all the drawing or coloring or whatever, you can put your name. So that's where you'll put you and your partner's name to give me an idea of who did what. Next, you've got captions. So captions are in these rectangular solid boxes. That's usually when you as the writer want to say something to the reader, or maybe you're changing from one location to the next, or you're trying to let us know about what year it is or what's going on. That's what you'd put in a caption, but it's very minimal. You can't put a paragraph in a caption. You just want a couple words to give us a quick idea of what's going on. Remember, in a comic book, in a graphic novel, you want the pictures to do the majority of the storytelling. You want your images to speak for themselves. So the less words, the better. Okay, sound effects are hugely important because, as I said, you don't have a lot of room to add a bunch of description of what's going on. So you're going to have to make action happen with just pictures. But if you notice, you can't show that something's exploding here. So what they did instead was they did a sound effect. So sound effects are big, poofy, cartoony looking balloon letters that are usually colored in solid. So right here you can tell that some sort of capsule or something exploded and made a poof sound. And then I guess we see a bouquet of flowers, and a little parachute opened, and we can tell the parachute opened, one, because of these little movement lines. So you could tell that it kind of moved outward, but then you see a flop. So that onomatopoeia, that word that kind of makes a sound, shows us that this parachute just made a flop sound as it opened. So you're going to need to use sound effects in your story to show any kind of action that's going on. Okay, a quick quiz. So this first box, what do you think this is? Is this a speech bubble, a thought bubble, a caption? Well, if you thought caption, you're correct. I know this is confusing because it seems like this main character is thinking this, but this main character is talking directly to us. And since he's talking directly to us, then these words are showing up in a caption box. Okay. This right here, the space in between these two boxes, this is what's known as the gutter. Remember, it gives your brain a kind of break, and it gives your eyes the ability to see that this picture is happening before this picture. Okay. This whole big box here is what's known as a panel. Okay, so I'm going to be telling you that this panel looks good, or you should add more panels to this page. So you got to know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these boxes on each page where the picture and the words go inside. Okay, this last one right here. So big bolded words, cartoony, poofy lettering that show us what sound a thing is making. Iron Man's mask just closed and it made a clank sound, so it is a sound effect. Okay, again, this is a narrative box. Notice there's no pointer, there's no bubbles, it's just a box by itself. And he's kind of Spider-Man is kind of talking to us, so that's a narrative box. Oop. And then this here, it is a solid circle. It has a pointer going towards the character, so we know Spider-Man is saying this out loud. So this is a speech bubble with a pointer. You have your title and your title page, and you have your credits to show what you and your partner each did for the story. Again, you have gutter, a whole panel, you've got a speech bubble and a pointer, you've got a thought bubble. Notice that it looks like a cloud with these little circles, these little bubbles going to Iron Man, who's flying off and thinking this to himself, not to us. All right, that was the parts of a comic. I hope you guys will be ready to get in class and get started with your own project.